So excellent. So virtue and character. Anything else?
Subjects in a row A.
Okay. So integrating those subjects, integrating God into those subjects, because He did create everything to bring Him glory. That's why they are there, and they were created in unity, in harmony. That we do have a picture of that as well. And it's on the next page. I want to touch on a couple of these. So integrate. You just did my second point. So integration of subjects and the idea of living in a universe that it all works together. That's how God created. Why can't we do education that way? It is all integrated, and if you think about it, there is nothing that's separate from God's touch, from His plan and purpose. One of the other things here, I believe, that makes an education God-centered, it's an education that reaffirms the parental responsibility of the child's education. I think CC, this is the one thing, well, there's a couple things that differentiate CC from anything else. And that is, we're here to empower you, the parents. We do not want to take your job. We don't want to take your job, because then we would be usurping God's plan for Him giving you your children, okay? So we have tutors that will come alongside and help you 1 hour a week for math. And if you think about it, your child isn't going to learn everything they need to know about math in 1 hour. Even if we did a curriculum, you are the primary teacher, and we want to keep it that way. So that one of the things that will never become is an accredited program, and I don't know if that term even means anything to you. If it doesn't, that's fine, because it really doesn't matter. Accreditation is just bondage. It's just the state regulation on a school or on an organization to make sure that everything you do lines up with the state. That will never be our focus, because we're taking away your freedom. Because you will have to do that test, you will have to do that paper, you will have to be at class 80% of the time. That puts more regulation on you. So that won't ever happen. That's not our vision. So we believe in God's mandate for parents to train up your child in the way they should go. And again, they're with a tutor, for 6 hours on that 1 day a week. But our goal is to make sure you have everything you need for the rest of the time at home. That's the goal. That's, again, I think, following what God has in mind for education, and it's the parents doing it. Emphasizes words over images. Of course, know better to make them known. We read a lot of books and challenge. Has anybody ever counted? How many? I can't remember the number. Do you know the number? It's something crazy. You know?
No, I'm saying it's a lot.
It's a lot of books. And we do that to try, we are trying to fight the culture of images, of the iPhone. I don't think we could navigate anywhere without this, where's our maps? And the map is an image, right? But we are a culture that's driven by billboards and quick snippets, and our kids can't even sit in church anymore because there's not enough happening, there's not enough image up there. So we do believe that God values the Word, so much so that He named His Son the Word, and that Jesus is the Word. And so the Word is important, it should be important to us, so that's why we read so much. We want to give them the tools to be able to process what they're reading, and we don't read all Christian books either, so just know that. They're reading tough content in Challenge 1 when you read about the Scarlet Letter, and you're familiar with that book. The topic of that book is heavy. Up from Slavery, there's just book after book that deals with heavy content and heavy themes, and they have to process through and be able to maturely have conversations about what is the theme of this book. And is it something that lines up with God's Word and what it says, or not? Is it completely contrary to that?
I just wanted to add
Go ahead.
on that, so my daughter's in Challenge 1, and she's done A and B, and now she's in 1. And it's a lot of reading in A, and a lot of reading in B. Sometimes it's every couple of weeks is another book. And then, like you said, like Scarlet Letter, or there was one, Billy Bud. Mm-hmm. That took me almost a month to read. That thing is confusing.
Yeah.
But it's so encouraging, because in the beginning it was like, oh, I'm reading another book, but now she's on a break. Okay, she had her last day yesterday, and today was like her first day of Christmas break. And she was reading one from A, I can't remember, A or B. She was reading, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe you're reading when just been. I think the first day off, he would be on the computer or
Right, right.
social media or something. And so now she has a real love for reading that I think, she did like reading when she was little, but not like this. I mean, she just 3 little brothers, she's telling them, she's getting them to read the Challenge A books now, and they're all reading them, and they're talking about it, and it's really neat, because that's nothing I ever brought up or wanted them to do, or mention, what do we do? Talk about books together. They just did that on their own, and so she's just from reading so much, it's made her love reading more.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but.
Yeah, and it won't
really
happen
cool
for every child. I mean, my daughter loves to read. The boys, it's just a little bit different, than Lauren did. So, to each his own. Gabe likes logic. Elijah, I'm not quite sure what he really liked. I mean, he liked the social aspect of CC. He did love leading, and I'll get to that a little bit when our students get the opportunity to lead seminars. That's what he loved. He loved preparing to lead. So that's a little bit scary on what the Lord's calling him to do there, but we'll see. This is the picture of a classical Christian model. So God in the center. Everything was created by God to bring him glory, and it's all connected. It's all integrated. So, as we make connections between language and math or philosophy, math is a foreign language. It uses different words and terms. It's just learning a different language. If you were to put math to the fine arts for drawing, for music, there are connections there. So the connections are there to be made. Hopefully we'll be able to find a document that's going to help us connect even more between the programs, so connecting our foundations material to what we do in Challenge. We'll do that in a little while. But God-focused is related, integrated, beautiful, value-driven. So again, it's this value and virtue. That's what we're about. We're not about making a bunch of Latin scholars, but we do know the diligence it takes to learn Latin is a skill that will carry them, and they'll think that they can learn anything. If they can conjugate and translate those sentences when they're in Challenge 3 and 4, they're gonna have the ability in college to not really be intimidated by math, because that's a difficult thing to do. One thing I want to show here before we move to our next segment, and we can take some questions before we do that, but you can't really see it much, and I think it's in make this a little clear. Sorry. There we go. The scope and sequence of a true education. I love this because I wish somebody would have showed this to me when my kids were, 5 and 6 and 7 in that 4 to 11 years, because I sure did get hung up on curriculum, making sure that my children had the best curriculum out there. And when I started homeschooling, I went to, somebody says, search homeschool curriculum, and I type it in, and there's like a million things to choose from. How do you know? They say, well, you should go to a conference. You should go to a book conference. So I went to the big Alabama book homeschool conference that has about 500 vendors, and I'm thinking, oh, well, that's a pretty book. Oh, well, that's really nice. Oh, maybe we should do this for science. And this scope and sequence, it's a hard sale, but look through it with me and just humor me for a little while, and let's talk through some of these things. So from 4 to 11 years old, they say from this age, these are the things you should be working on. Train to obey your parents. It's pretty important. Why is that important?
Safety.
Okay. Commandment. Foundation, it's a commandment. If they obey you, who are they more apt to obey? The Lord. So, very important. Memorizing songs and stories, learning to be kind, train to clean a house. I always say that my boys, they cleaned their own bathroom after a certain point in time where I said, you're doing this, because I'm not quite sure how that gets all over. So I'll show you how to clean the toilet, and you're going to clean it and scrub and all that. And in the process of doing that, I said, listen guys, I'm doing this so that you will make your wife so happy. They're going to be so happy that you know how to clean the toilet. And Gabe said, well, it's after logic. He said, well, logically, I'm not going to tell her I know how to do it. Why would I tell her? So anyway, he'll clean a toilet. Be taught to read phonetically. So phonics, starting just with the grammar of reading, and that's our phonograms and all those things. So we're learning phonetically. The daily habit of studying math, and I didn't really take this very seriously. I mean, we did math when we were doing math, and then I figured out, gosh, if I keep them doing math through the summer, when we start school again, it's much easier to jump in. The funny story with this is my 2 boys have become friends with Lee's youngest 2 boys. So William and David have come to my house on occasion, and my boys have gone to there and they stay for a few days. And William was at my house one day, and I mean, it's you know, they're having a good old time. It's vacation, and he says, "Hey, do you have a Saxon Algebra 2 book laying around?" And I said, "Yeah, on my bookshelf." Why? He goes, "I just need to do a few problems today," and that's all he said. So he, on his, you know, just sitting there. Now David didn't do that. William did it. So he just had this habit of doing math every single day. And I don't know that he does it every day, but the idea there is it's just a habit of doing it. And if you keep doing it, the easier it becomes. So I don't know about many of you. Are any of you math people that just love doing math? Okay, 1, 2 out of the crowd. Okay, so, you know, math to me, I'm like, okay, we're going to do that the last part of the day. And I began to realize that they're taking the attitude of math that I have. And so I had to love math in front of my kids for them to be able to do math. Trained to memorize lots of facts, taught spelling and grammar rules, and taught to write well-constructed sentences and paragraphs. That list is for your 4 to 11-year-olds. I don't see apology of science up there. I don't see Saxon math. I don't even see a Latin program. Okay. When I look through in 12 to 14, the list gets even a little smaller. So we have trained to manage a household as opposed to clean a house. Okay, so now you're managing. Did any of you watch the Duggars? So I met them. They came, well, not on purpose. We were getting ice cream at Brewster's right by my house. And, well, before I tell you that part, I'll tell you, we were snowed in Georgia a couple of years ago. And they had a Duggar marathon on. And I had never watched the Duggars before. I saw her in that course of the day have like 4 children, and it was this marathon of children being born. But one of the episodes, my kids were fascinated, and my husband was fascinated. They were glued to the TV. They couldn't believe that this family of this size could function the way it did. And, you know, I'm trying to say, well, you know, Grandma and Grandpa are probably in the background, and they have a slew of people helping. But there was an episode where she was in distress with one of her births, and it was over Christmas time, and they had to fly her to a big hospital somewhere in a different city. And her husband had to go with her, and they had this big party planned, and they were going to cancel it. And the kid said, no, we can run the party, you know, and they sent out invitations, they had the house clean, they cooked all the food, they entertained the guests, they cleaned it. I mean, it was just like clockwork. And I'm like, guys, this is how you manage a household. I mean, these kids could run this house without the parents. So training to manage a household, I mean, that's just, I made Lauren, she had 1 day a week where she planned lunch, and it became more because she actually enjoyed cooking, so then it was lunch every day. But she had to put together the shopping list, and she went with me to the store, and she went and got her ingredients that she needed to prepare lunch. That's just helping her, you know, get ready to do that for a family of all of meals. So what are we doing? You know, how are we helping them manage households?